All right, everyone seeing the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, we're in 1 Thessalonians 3:5. If you're just auditing the class, you're free to ask questions, but we're going to be translating it. We're going to ask the people that have had enough Greek to do this, to do the translation. Now, I can't remember who all's in here. Bobby, are you in here, Bobby Gayton? All right. Okay. So I have 3 that I can count on for translation. Probably need to get a list of the people who are in here. Is Freddie in here? Freddie, are you here? Okay. So I got 3 here. I'll start with James, if we will, and we'll hear. Let's go to the end of the sentence. Can you read that for us, James?
Yes, sir.
Translate it.
Dia tuto kago meketi stegon epemsa esto denonai tain pistin humon.
Okay, good.
And I translated that through this. I am bearing it no longer. I want to be sure I go as far as I'm bearing it no longer. And did I read further than that? Yes. I sent in order to know your faith.
All right. All right. All right. I think that's pretty good. Dia tuto could be because of this, on account of this. There's several other ways you could have had it. King James American Standard for this cause. And the cargo is kind of interesting. It's a compound word of ago, and it's chi and I, ego, chi and ego. And that would be even I. When even I, see, could no longer forbear. All right. That help a bit? It's a little bit emphatic, and it's chi and ego combined right here. So it's even I. Chi can be even. All right. Any other things anybody wants to add? Forbear is a participle, see. All right, let's go up here now. I sent that I might know. This is an aorist infinitive, in order to know, see. That with a view to knowing. With a view to knowing your what? Your faith. Now, what was he worried about? Well, the next part of the verse will tell us. So let's start here. Your faith. Go to the end of the verse. I'll go backwards here, so I'll go with Chris next. Chris, if you got that ready, are we able to do that?
Yes. Okay. Mepos, eperosin, umos, ho, perirazon, kai, ace, kenon, genetai, ho, kopos, hemon.
Okay, very good.
So I have Mepos, lest somehow had tempted you, the one tempting, and in vain would be the labor of us.
And kopos is a wearisome labor, see. We worked hard on this, see. So it's a wearisome labor. So right here, mapos, notice it has may at the beginning. And so that makes it kind of iffy. If perhaps, see, lest, if perhaps. See.
He's hoping it didn't happen, but it could have.
Yeah, mapos. Okay. So it's may and post down there, right here, that highlighted here. It's interrogative, if perhaps the tempter. Satan is, that's probably referring to Satan. And Satan, of course, does tempt us a large number of times. In fact, I would say a lot of the time it's through his messengers, through his people that follow him. Oh, come on, let's just have a little drink here. Let's take a little bit of this, smoke this weed, or whatever. And they kind of pressure you to do it. And what will happen is, if you're tempted and you succumb to it, what will happen then? The labor of now our would be Paul and the ones with him probably. Might be what? Vain. Now that's like an empty bottle. The bottle is empty, so there's nothing left in it. And so we're left empty. That one of the problems with compiled Greek's text, there's no division between words. And so we have to depend on the judgment of the modern editor and their own distinction between whether a word is a compound word or whether it is a word that is it's two separate words. And so we have a problem with this in that may post could be two separate words, may and post. Robertson cites one commentator in Robertson's word picture who interprets it in this manner. So that's indeed plausible. So you need to be aware of that. That's a plausibility. It could occur because they didn't put space between their letters, okay, between their words. So it might have been instead of may post, it might have been instead of may post, it might have been may post. Two separate words. But again, the thrust of the word would not have been changed drastically. There would be a slight change in the meaning, but not a drastic change. Any questions? All right. I translated, for this cause I also, when I could no longer forbear, sent to know your faith. That's what it means the tempter had tempted you, and our labor might be in vain. Greek, it is the one tempting. It's a participle. The one tempting. Now, questions? Now,
Just a
verse. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, just a comment, that it's an interesting verse because it's telling us that the things that we do can have far-reaching implications.
That's true. We need to be aware of that. We can negatively influence or positively influence people by our actions. We can certainly do that. Was that your point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I've seen in this country that little by little, it grows as a swell and things are changed that you would never think would become changed.
Yeah. Such as homosexual marriages and things like that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Okay. In verse 6 through 10, there's tidings or message or something come from Timothy. I say tidings, by that I mean it sent information, word of mouth, or maybe even a letter of some sort. So Timothy, I think, was word of mouth as he came. So let's try this and go down to here. All right, the first, Jerry, can you go down to the cursor?
The one where it's the black blinking, or
Yeah.
the cursor on the bottom?
Yeah, cursor right here. Right here.
Okay. RT, Elthontos, Timotheu, Pros, Humos. Hamos, that's right.
Right.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
So how did you translate it?
But now Timothy coming to us,
Right.
that's it.
Coming toward us or to us. See, to us is good rendering. The Greek is toward us. His motion was toward us. Timothy was a coming toward us person. What that basically saying. All right. James, can you start at up and go down to the Chi where I have it on accent, where I have the cursor?
Okay. Afumon kai yuangalisa menu amin tain pisting kai tain agape humon. And I have that from you, and having brought the good news to us of your faith and love.
All right. So that's the participle, that having brought the good news. Okay. That's one word. Of you, from you, the faith and your love. All right. Your faith and charity, the King James. I don't like the translation of the King James as charity. I know some of my preacher brethren love it, but I think people could have charity and not be loving. They could give money to charities, and the word charity just kind of gets lost in meaning. Now, true charity is an act of love, I grant you. But the problem is the word charity has been misused so much. I don't like it. Again, it's just my preference. I would prefer to translate it as love and let the Bible define love for us. Because there's so many so-called charities out there in the world that have charity could be just something you do. Of course, love is something you do too, but it's broader. It's more than just charity. And again, true charity flows out of love, doesn't it? We know that, of course. Right? So we're going to go down, and I'll try to go down to the word. From you, that's ablative, of course, and brought us glad tidings. That's the verb form, participle form of the verb for to preach the gospel, okay, of your faith. So it's good news, Paul says. He brought good news about your faith. That's how we could say that. And that ye have good remembrance of us always. So you have a good attitude toward us. Now, how do we know they had a good attitude toward Paul? All right, let's see how this works on. All right, did you get down to there? Where did we end?
Kai.
Kai, right here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. Chris, could you take from there down to here?
Yes.
Down to where the cursor ends, just kind of a short section.
Okay. Kai hoti, exeti, menain, hemon, agathan, and tote.
Pantote.
And tote.
Okay. Right.
And that you have a remembrance of us good always.
Okay.
And that you always have a good remembrance of
Always
us.
have a good remembrance of us. All right. Now, how do we know if they have a good remembrance of us? How does Paul know?
Timothy told him.
Well, the participle of the next part of the last part of the verse will tell us. Jerry, take the rest of the verse,
Okay.
please.
Hepi, Bothuntes, Hamas, Idane, Kathaper, Kai, Humes, Humas. Also desiring to see us just as we do you.
All right. Desiring to see us. That participle desiring probably is explaining how he knew that they had remembrance of him, because they're desiring to see us. Now, probably Timothy told him that. They want to see you badly. They really want you to come back and see them, be with them. So that might be one of the messages Timothy was delivering. But this participle kind of lays it out for us. It's kind of explaining it for us. Thus, all right, desiring greatly to see us, and so desiring greatly, right? That is a present active participle, nominative plural masculine, all right? And Thayer says it's to pursue with love, but it's to pursue after, right? To chase after, all right? Have you ever heard some guy, he's chasing this girl, he's wanting her to marry him, you know? Or a gal can be chasing a guy too, but So right here, longing to see us. Now, the seeing is from horao, is to basically become very closely acquainted with someone. So they wanted a closer relationship to Paul. They had a close relationship. They wanted to be even closer. I think it's good that Christians would want to have a stronger relationship with other Christians. This shows part of that concept of this idea. Even as also, we also. So Paul says, kathaper, and that's just as we also. We also what? That just leaves you hanging. That's elliptical. We also to what? American Standard put in there what?
Do you?
To see.
Oh.
And American Standard, how did King James have it?
Mhm.
To see you is how the King James has it too. Now I put just a little different, but when Timothy came even now to us from you and brought us good news of your faith and love, and that you were good, you have good remembrance of us always, longing to see us, even as we also long to see you. And I put long to see in there because it's the same thing. He's repeating it. So I added the word long, but I put them in italics, you notice. Any questions? Now, what does this tell you about what Christians should be? What should their attitude be for other Christians?
Close relationship.
Close relationship. Longing to see other Christians. I remember as a boy, we used to go to the gospel meetings of other congregations around. We'd go attend them. I don't see that happening very much anymore. And it's kind of saddens me. Okay? It does sadden me to a great extent. Okay? Any questions? All right. Now then, Gary can help me watch the clock. Let's go to verse 7 now. All right. I don't see a good break in it. There's one break, but it's after 4 words. And James,
Yes,
I'm going
sir.
to load up on you. Take the whole verse if you would, please.
Okay. Dia tuto paraklethemen adelphoi, ephumin epi passe te philipse kai anake, excuse me, hemon diates humon pisteos. And on account of this, brethren, we were comforted in all our tribulations and distress through your faith.
Okay. We were comforted. Now, the word comforted could be exhorted, right? It depends on how you're viewing it. And if it's comfort they're receiving, it would, and I think that's probably the best translation. But the word could be exhortation. We exhorted. That is, they exhorted. Okay, we were comforted. But it is passive voice, and so it could be exhorted as well. But I'm going to go with comforted because I think that kind of fits the context better. Okay. All right. We were comforted over what? Based upon of what?
In their tribulations and distress.
So what did they do in their tribulations and distress?
Maintain their faith.
All right, they maintained their faith, didn't they? For which cause, brethren, we are comforted over you in all distress and affliction through your faith. So the faith of them, the fact that they did not give up their faith, in spite of the persecution they were undergoing, was a very strong point of encouragement to the Apostle Paul. Now, I'm told that there's in Afghanistan right now, anybody that claims to be a Christian is being persecuted. Some are being killed. and very beaten up and so forth. I don't know whether we have any brethren over there or not, but there are people who claim to be Christians there. They're being persecuted. Now, this can happen to us, and I appreciate their standing for their faith. Okay? And Paul found great encouragement. So that's why I think it was comfort. Although it could be they were exhorted by the means or encouraged by means of the actions of the church, of the faithfulness of the brethren. So again, that comforted or being exhorted could have come into the word as well, comforted or exhorted. And it give us great exhortation or comfort, consolation. Any comments?
There's just a lot of times we don't know what impact our example has.
You what now? I'm sorry.
So there are times we just don't know what impact our example has on others.
Yes. I don't think the apostles fully understood that all of their suffering would be a means of causing other people to believe 2,000 years later. And I know what the apostles went through and all of the pain and sorrow and anguish they went through, and they never changed their testimony that he was resurrected. And that tells me they were either crazy men or they were dead ringer convinced that he was resurrected. Dead for sure. And I think there's no evidence they were crazy men, out of their mind, out of their heads. So these men were speaking the truth. And what they went through proves to me they did, that what they spoke was truth. And so while they suffered greatly, their suffering is a means of making our faith stronger. That's how I view it. Any questions or comments? Okay. All right, let's see. Chris, can you read the next verse?
Yes.
Verse 8, please.
Nun zomen ion emais stekete in curio. So, Oti, for now, we live if you are standing firm in, I put the Lord.
You're standing firm in the Lord. The word "thee" could be inserted there. Now, let me point out here, the expression "in the Lord" is a very interesting expression. We'll look at it just briefly in a moment. For now what? We live. This could be subjunctive mood, but I think it's indicative, and I've gone with the indicative on it. We live if what? If we stand fast. Now, this is the iffy if you look at it, aeon. And so it usually goes, it is a first class conditional sentence here. And so probably first class. I'm not sure. Aeon doesn't go with first class. We live if we what? You stand fast. And because of their standing fast. Since they were standing fast in the Lord. Now, I want you to look at this expression, in the Lord. It's an expression that we really need to go back and look at 1 Corinthians 1, 30 through 31. Now, let me point out, if you have my notes on that, you can go back and study it yourself. I'm not going to go into it in great detail, but let me say this. This expression has a meaning that's, when you put it in parallel with the quote, he quotes from Jeremiah. So in my notes on 1 Corinthians 1, 30 through 31, in my notes on 1 Corinthians, if you don't have them, let me know and I'll send them to you. But in my notes on it, I go back and put this parallel with it to show you what's being quoted. And what this means is the expression in the Lord, as it's quoted from Jeremiah, Paul, by inspiration, replaces to have understanding and to know God with in the Lord. The expression in the Lord is substituted for those two expressions. And what does that mean? You have understanding of God's word, and you're intimate with God. You have this close relationship with God. So You stand fast in an intimate relationship with God because you have knowledge of God. And it's understanding God's word and being intimate or knowing God. Any questions or comments? Again, that expression I think is found 35 times, that same Greek expression, and that interpretation will go with each one of those and explain it quite readily. It'll fit every single one of them. Okay? I went through and did a treatise on it. If you want my treatise on it, I'll be happy to send it to you. Okay? Any questions? But put it beside the passage from Jeremiah that's quoted in 1 Corinthians 1:30 and 31, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And I believe that's a good way to interpret. We take the Old Testament scriptures and how he quotes it in the New Testament, he substitutes one word for another, an expression for another. These two expressions have to have the same meaning, otherwise he's quoting them out of context. And I believe the Holy Spirit will do that. Okay? So that's my reason for going with that view. Jerry, is it about time?
Nope.
How much?
We have another 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. I translated this, for now we live if we stand fast in the Lord. Now, going to the expression in the Lord, I put "the" there, but it probably should be in italics.
I put we are revitalized. Is that?
Revitalized, we live. Revitalized could work. All right. Now we live to be revitalized, enjoy
Because
real
that was a
life.
part of that refresh thing from
Yeah.
before. I just.
This is from Zoe, and rather than Bios. And so it's from Zoe, which is a spiritual life. It's a higher life, okay? Any questions, other questions or comments? Both of these are durative action, they're present tense. Both these verbs are. To live and stand fast. Okay. Right.
How, if I may ask, Hoti, translated as for, is that, I guess because of Dana and Manti, you see that as fairly frequent, it says. What distinction do you make then between that and gar as far as when it's used in the sense of for?
Well, Hoti means more of a causal. Gar could, but gar gives more like a reason. But causal would fit reason pretty close. There's a great overlap between them. I'm not sure how I would distinguish them right now. I probably need to look at it and study it some more to give you an answer. Let me see if I can come up with one for next week. Okay.
Yeah, that was the question that came across my mind, because after I did my translation, most of the translations I looked at used the word for there. And I thought, wow, I wonder then why. I originally translated it with the word that.
Well, OT always goes with the indicative mood, that's true. I'd have to look at gar. Gar may go with other moods.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Okay. I'll have to go study it some more. I think we got time for another verse or two. All right. Let's try it. Verse 9 for you. Let's go to the cursor. All right. And who was last? Who was the last one?
I did that one.
You did? Okay. Jerry, could you go down to the cursor?
Okay.
F-E.
Alone.
I saw.
Okay. Tina, Gar, Eucharistian, Dunametha, To, Theo, Hanapo, Dunai, Peri, Human. For what special thing are we able to give thanksgiving for you?
Okay. For what certain thing or special thing, you like that?
Well, I don't know, that's just what I put.
It's pointing something significant in the context out.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be, what do you think he's giving thanksgiving for?
Their faith and their love.
Their faith and their love, probably. Right? Right. This could be nominative plural. Say, for what It is accusative singular masculine or nominative plural neuter interrogative. I would almost go with it as being plural. That would fit the faith and love. Okay? So
Oh, yeah,
we
it could
take it
be.
as plural.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was that, so it should be things, probably should.
Yeah. All right, for what things? And it is either masculine or it is neuter, masculine singular or neuter plural. Okay? What things? Things we give thanks for. See, and Thanksgiving, in this case, is a noun. So for what Thanksgiving can we render? So what Thanksgiving can we render? And that's to give back. Anti and apo and didomai, compound word. Back unto God. So what can we give back to God? Okay, what can we pay back to God for you? So we're giving thanks to God for you. For what can we give thanks? All of these things we give thanks to God for you. And again, I think Jerry's right. Their love and their faith. Would you agree? Probably those things. If that's plural, that would fit it quite well. All right. We got for you, and that would be the last line on this right here. See, Chris, you and Jerry have gone, so back to James, if you would.
All right, beginning at epi and to the end of the sentence.
Yes.
Okay. Epi passe te kara he kairomen dihumas empros tu theu hemon. And after it gives the to get back to God, it's for you, for all the joy I rejoice through you before your God.
For all the joy wherewith, that's a feminine for host, which wherewith we joy. So we joy, we rejoice. But we rejoice in front of who?
I put our God. Is that
I did too.
our, or is that you? Your?
Well, it's Hamon,
Oh, it'd be our God.
our God.
Yep.
Humon would be your God. Humon would be your God. So I don't think it's a textual variety. I don't have it noted. Improsan, then is in front of, or before the face of somebody, in front of their face. Robertson tells us it occurs as a preposition 44 times in the New Testament. It's also an adverb, okay? It's a preposition usually with the ablative case in front of, before the face of God, of our God. God sees everything, doesn't he? Some people don't realize that. For what thanksgiving can we render again to God for you, for all the joy wherewith we rejoice for your sakes before our God. We rejoice, and God sees our rejoicing, and he's happy with it. I think he's happy when we rejoice that other people are faithful. We should get great joy out of what gives God joy. We see in one of the parables of the lost coin and so forth, there was rejoicing in heaven over the what? The one that was lost, the lost sheep that was found, more than the 99 that weren't lost. So how does God react when a lost soul comes back? That's joy, rejoicing and it says, in the presence of God. But I think when you study it more carefully, it's God who's rejoicing. It could be the angels rejoicing with God. But I think if you look at the structure, I think it's actually God rejoicing. So if the angels were greater than us to rejoice over, should we not also rejoice? And certainly if God rejoices, we should. Well, any questions? There is a verse that clearly tells us that God rejoices when a saved person is saved. A lost person is saved, I'm sorry. All right. We have time for one more, Jerry.
I think 10. Yeah, we have.
Okay, let's try 10. And right here, see your face. All right, let's go down to here, to your face. All right, and it'll be Chris.
Okay.
And then Jerry, take the last part.
Nuptos kai hemeros, huper ek periasu, diomenoi, ace to idin, homon, to pro sopon. So I have that night and day, exceedingly imploring for us to see your face, or the face of you, your face.
Okay, night and day. It's translated pray, but it's actually to implore. There are several words translated with the idea of prayer, aren't there? So we need to, there's a subtle difference in them too as well. We can have Thanksgiving prayers, intercession prayers, and other kinds of prayers. Prayers, intercessions, Thanksgiving, supplications. And praying exceedingly, this is an adverb, a superlative degree adverb. Exceedingly, see? So that's superlative degree. Super abundantly. That we might what? How far did you get?
To the face.
See your face.
To your face.
Pro sopon.
Now we take the rest of the verse, if you will, Jerry.
Kai, Qatar, Tisai, Ta, Pustere Mata, Tes, Pistus, Humon, and to supply the shortcomings of your faith. I didn't like the way that sounded, but that's what I put.
Okay. And to perfect, American Standard reads, King James. What do you do when you perfect something?
You complete it, you make it finished.
You finish it. May perfect what is lacking. So, in your faith.
Oh, I thought it was supply, because I think he wanted to lay hands on people and give them more gifts and stuff.
That's possible. You also might want to do some more teaching and encourage them too. So we can see a lot of things that might have come in here. There's something still lacking in your faith. Is Marion's faith what it should be? Probably not. It needs to grow. Can it grow more? I think it can. And I've been a member of the church for a long time, but we can say we can all grow. I think our faith can grow more as we grow older if we let it grow. Feed our soul right. That which is lacking. There's something they're still lacking, and so their faith needs to grow some more. Okay? And of course, an apostle could say this knowing that they needed stronger faith. They might need stronger faith for some more persecution that's going to come even worse. So it might be something like that.
Yeah, in less than 10 years.
Yep.
For sure. Maybe quite a bit less than 10 years.
Any questions or comments? Night and day praying exceedingly that we might see your face and might perfect that which is lacking in your faith. I footnoted this, to mend or repair. Let's go back and look at the word perfect. It's the idea of mending something, healing it, like mending or repairing a net. All right? And on the screen up here, I have all these places where that word's found. Okay. Any comments? How far did we get?
Verse 10.
Okay, we'll start with verse 11 next week.
You have about 5 minutes.
All right. We'll stop there.
I want to give Gary a minute.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.